Gene Hackman was an undeniable force in Hollywood, earning deep respect for his raw performances, yet remained an elusive figure off-screen. His untimely death at the age of 95 marks the end of an era, but behind the accolades and success, there was a man grappling with personal demons. In an unexpected revelation, Robert Duvall, a longtime friend and fellow actor, has broken his silence, revealing shocking details about Hackman's life, struggles, and death. The truth Duvall shared paints a complex portrait of a man who, despite immense talent, was consumed by internal battles. Duvall's description of Hackman is far from what fans might expect. Hackman wasn't just a brilliant actor, he was a man haunted by rage, isolation, and the scars of an inner war. His intensity was not limited to his performances. It was a way of life, a constant struggle that never fully left him. Hackman's bond with Robert Duvall was forged over decades, but it was never the kind of friendship built on warm exchanges or fond memories. Their connection was born out of mutual struggle. Both actors, determined to make their mark, survived by any means necessary while honing their craft. When they first crossed paths at the Pasadena Playhouse in the 1950s, Duvall immediately saw something unique in Hackman. He saw a fire, an undeniable drive that made Hackman both captivating and unpredictable. Even in his early years, Hackman carried an unspoken burden. His energy was intense, almost volatile, never allowing him to settle. Duvall, upon reflecting on their time together, described Hackman as a tormented guy, a man who sought solace in solitude. Hackman wasn't simply someone with a strong personality. He was a man wrestling with a deep internal conflict that shaped who he was both on and off screen. Hackman's pursuit of perfection in his craft wasn't just about excelling in his roles. It was a reflection of his constant internal struggle. His obsessive nature drove him to push not only himself, but also everyone around him. If a director hesitated or a co-star didn't match his energy, Hackman's temper would explode. His outbursts on set earned him the nickname Vesuvius, known for erupting at any moment. However, this rage wasn't born out of arrogance. It stemmed from something much more complex, a deep-seated emotion Duvall could always sense in Hackman's eyes. Hackman's rage was fueled by memories of those who doubted him. He carried the weight of these doubts throughout his career, using them as motivation but also as chains. Even after winning multiple Oscars and achieving what many would consider success, Hackman couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something he needed to prove. The immense pressure he placed on himself became a burden that, over time, took its toll on him. Duvall recognized that Hackman's isolation wasn't just a personality quirk. It was a necessity for him. Trust didn't come easily to Hackman, and he never truly forgave those who had wronged him. He never allowed himself to slow down, even for the people who cared about him. This relentless drive led him to eventually withdraw from Hollywood, retreating to New Mexico, a place where he could escape the world he had spent a lifetime running from. Duvall wasn't surprised by Hackman's retreat. It felt like the final act in a life spent fleeing from unresolved pain. The roots of Hackman's torment ran deep. His struggles didn't begin in Hollywood. They started much earlier. Hackman's troubled past, particularly the abandonment of his father when he was just 13, left scars that shaped his entire life. This wound defined him, creating a sense of loss and instability that Hackman tried to fill through his work and his personal battles. It was a loss that never truly healed, a wound that stayed with him for the rest of his life. Hackman's decision to enlist in the U.S. Marine Corps at just 16 was an attempt to regain control over his life, which had been shaken by his father's abandonment. This act wasn't just about seeking purpose. It was a desperate attempt to fill a void that had been left behind. When his mother found out, she was devastated, not just by his enlistment, but by the way he disappeared from her life. Hackman's departure reminded her of the loss she had already endured, and the emotional toll was profound. Duvall explained it in stark terms. He killed her, he said, not literally but emotionally. Hackman's need to escape and find control had already begun to take a toll on his relationships. While Hackman rarely spoke of his childhood, the impact it had on him was clear. His experiences shaped him into the man Duvall knew, a person constantly fighting against a world that seemed to stand in opposition to his every step. That sense of unresolved turmoil lingered with him throughout his life, influencing not only his career, but also his relationships with others. It was this unyielding fight that ultimately consumed him. From the moment Hackman entered Hollywood, it was evident that he wasn't like other actors. He didn't seek attention or crave the spotlight. What he wanted was respect, but not friendship. He sought control but rejected connection. Hackman built walls so high that even those closest to him struggled to break through. Dustin Hoffman, a longtime friend, once recalled unsettling moments from their friendship. They'd go out together, but Hackman would suddenly excuse himself, saying, "I gotta go." What Hoffman eventually learned was that Hackman was searching for something more than just socializing. He needed to fight to release the restless, self-destructive energy that never left him. Even in a crowd, Hackman was alone, locked in a battle that only he understood. As his career soared, he became even more withdrawn. Unlike other stars who sought out the Hollywood scene, Hackman rejected it. He didn't attend parties, avoid networking events, or socialize with producers. For him, the industry was simply a job, nothing more. After years of giving himself completely to his roles, Hackman decided to walk away from it all, disappearing into the peace of rural New Mexico. Hackman's final years were marked by an increasing reclusiveness, something almost mythical. While other retired stars might make occasional appearances or offer reflections on their careers, Hackman refused to engage. There were no red carpet appearances, no memoirs, no interviews. Fans would catch glimpses of him running errands, but these moments were fleeting and he never acknowledged them. He moved to New Mexico, where he shunned the Hollywood lifestyle entirely. When the news of his death came, it shocked those who still remembered him. Hackman had been found dead at home alongside his wife and their dog. What was most unsettling was that they had been there for days, or even weeks, before anyone discovered them. A man who had spent his life keeping the world at a distance had, in his death, become nearly invisible. Duvall's reflections on Hackman's passing confirmed the inevitability of his fate. He died the way he lived, alone. In the end, Hackman's greatest performance wasn't on the screen. It was in his vanishing act. His life, marked by tension and distance, ended the same way he had lived it. For decades, he had kept himself apart from Hollywood, from friendships, and from the world. When death came, there was no one left to knock on his door, no one left to check if he was still there. Robert Duvall's final words about Hackman were a poignant acknowledgement of the real tragedy of his life. Hackman spent his years chasing greatness and recognition, yet it came at an unbearable cost. His silence over the years wasn't just about respecting his friend. It was because the truth was too painful to face. Hackman's life had been defined by struggles that no amount of fame could erase. In the end, the world saw him as a legend, but he was also a man who never found peace. As we reflect on the life and legacy of Gene Hackman, it's clear that his journey was far from simple. A man who captivated audiences with his raw talent, Hackman's personal battles and struggles were just as intense as the roles he portrayed on screen. He may have been a legend in Hollywood, but his story is also one of deep isolation, unhealed wounds, and a relentless pursuit of perfection that ultimately came at a high personal cost. Hackman's decision to distance himself from the world, both during his career and in his final years, speaks volumes about the complexity of his character. While we saw him as a towering figure behind the scenes, he was a man fighting to maintain control over his life, never truly finding peace. Robert Duvall's revelation gives us a glimpse into the real person behind the actor. a man who could never escape the pain of his past and struggled with his inner demons until the end. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you think Hackman's reclusiveness was a result of the pressures of fame, or was it more deeply tied to his personal experiences and unresolved trauma? Do you believe the price of greatness is too high for some, leaving them trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and isolation? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Let's continue the conversation. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more insightful content on the lives of Hollywood's most intriguing figures. Stay tuned for our next video, where we dive into more untold stories and revelations from the world of entertainment. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.